What's going on YouTube? Kevin Reese here. Today I'm going to show you all a quick video on how to change the spark plug in pretty much any weed eater. This is a Stihl weed eater that I have. This is the FS130R. So the first thing you want to do is locate your coil, which underneath it has your spark plug. So on this weed eater, it's right here. You pull this rubber cap off. This is your coil. You can see right here. And here's your spark plug. So the next thing you want to do is identify what size tool you need to take this out. Now pretty much when you buy any kind of chainsaw weed eater, they always come with these little multi-tools. They come in very handy. So you just find one of the ends that fit. And if you don't have one of these multi-tools, you can always use a socket. You can pick up spark plug sockets and stuff like that from pretty much any part store. So when you slip your little tool down on here, give it a little turn. We know this is the one. So the next thing you want to do, I always do this on any time I change a spark plug on any engine. First thing is to ensure that the engine is cold and that it has not been run. This engine is cold. Take some penetrating oil, and I always like to spray around the base of the spark plug and let that oil penetrate down for a few minutes down into the cylinder head, into those threads. And this is just an extra step you can take to ensure that you're not going to break this off in your cylinder head. So you can see I've just sprayed down around the base and just letting that penetrating oil work. And we'll let that sit for a few minutes. So while our penetrating oil is sitting there working, I like to take out my new plug. So this is an NGK, and this is the one that's supposed to replace in this particular model. It's a CMR 6H. And I like to just inspect the plug, make sure that your little crush washer is on it, and make sure there's nothing missing, that doesn't look damaged. As far as the gap goes, the majority of these plugs come pre-gapped. I rarely gap my plugs anymore and never have any issues, but I will leave that to y'all's discretion on what you want to do as far as gapping your plug. So now it's been enough time for our penetrating oil to sit, so we're going to put our wrench on and we're just going to give this a turn counterclockwise, just like this. Man, this thing was kind of loose. So I'm gonna need two hands for a second. So inspecting our new plug, reading it, it is fouled up and nasty looking. It's definitely time to replace it. You can see all the buildup here on the end of the electrode. You can see around the base how nasty it was. Set this to the side and I'll show you all in here. Make sure when you're doing this to be careful not to get any of that gunk inside your cylinder. So just be very careful with cleaning around it in the reinstall process. So I have very carefully, with just the flathead end of my little multi-tool, you can use that and just be very careful and just go around the top of there. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to introduce anything into the cylinder. And the next thing you're going to need is some anti-seize. This particular one is a Napa brand, anti-seize lubricant. This stuff, anytime you do any kind of spark plug replacement, always use this on the threads of the plug. This is one of the best things you can do to help prevent breaking off a spark plug in a cylinder head. You get a little of the lubricant here. This is what it looks like, and we're just going to put some on these threads. And a little bit of this stuff goes a long way, so just a dab on one side will work, because as you screw this in, it's going to disperse all throughout the threads and in the threads on the cylinder head. So once we have our anti-seize on, you're going to very carefully reinsert your plug. And I always start my threads, give them a little turn counterclockwise, and then just go ahead and turn them in. And I like to turn them in by hand until it's snug. So once that's turned in, generally on most plugs, what you do, so now that's tight by hand, we're just going to give this a turn. Most times it's about a 1/2 to 3/4 of a turn, just enough to seat that crush washer and just to get that crush washer to tighten up. So run your plug down by hand till it's snug. Put your wrench on and go ahead and give it a turn. Once you feel it seat, give it a turn. And on this one, we'll go about 1/4 of a turn. Just enough to get that crush washer to seat. Now I apologize, I don't have the exact torque spec for this one, and also with this video just kind of being a general way to change your spark plug on your weed eater, that particular setting could be different depending on what model weed eater you have. That's it for this video. I'm Kevin Reese. Like, comment, subscribe. See y'all on the next one.